I wasn't there to get one interrupted. Now we're live.
Mark with High Energy Labs. Today we are going to be going over joint health solutions problems, and I have a very special guest we are excited about. We have Antwoine Sanders, former University of Utah player. Go Utes!
Go Utes, baby.
And then he also played for the Baltimore Ravens, Miami Dolphins, and then up in Canada for a while.
With the Hamilton Tiger Cats.
Hamilton Tiger Cats. Awesome. So stay tuned. We'll be right back going over all that stuff for you. Welcome back. Hey, thanks for being on the show today, Antwoine. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you.
Good times. We're going to be covering, as I said, joint health solutions. We're going to talk a little bit about the NFL, sports injuries, how to prevent different things as far as body form. So let's just dive right into it. So a couple of questions I had for you is, in dealing with sports injuries and problems, what main things have you seen in relation to joint health and problems, and what's been the biggest issue out there, do you think?
I've seen a lot, especially with shoulders and knees.
Okay.
One of the things that a lot of people, they will continuously just repetitively beat themselves up, whether it's working out or whether it's just day-to-day living. I always tell individuals, if you can, go see a therapist, go to the doctor, get down to the bottom of it. And then also find a solution as far as if there's a supplement that will actually help them with their issues. So chronic injury with knees and shoulders is something I've seen a lot of.
And that's exactly what we're going to be going over today is supplements, different eating healthy, different solutions, things that we can do. You mentioned working out like repetitively. And then you mentioned also knees. So in my research and looking at it, one of the main things that I've seen is in dealing with joints, the number one injury is knee injury.
Correct.
And
yes.
so, I can especially see that being a problem in the NFL as well as, football, other sports injuries where, a lot of times we're using our knees repetitively. I know a lot of runners that run into that same exact problem. That issue is they're constantly pounding their knees. And so I think this is something that we don't necessarily notice right away when we get into it, when we're younger, but later on, if we're not taking care of our joints, we're not putting the right nutrition into our joints, we don't have proper form and all that, that's where we're going to be running into all these problems with arthritis later on. And I just want to cover, there's some misconceptions and confusion in dealing with arthritis as well. So the first one is just osteoarthritis. And osteoarthritis comes down to what we were just talking about, is it's caused by overworking, pushing those joints, age-related issues. And so, right here we have like a healthy knee joint and an arthritic joint. And so as we can see, we've let's pull up that other one right here. So yeah, I want to see this one right here. So if we look at this is like a healthy joint, we saw the other image there, but basically, we have this cartilage. And everyone's aware of that, and that's what rubs on the tip of the bones at the joints. That is the actual joint. And then we have the synovial fluid. Now that's like a protective fluid that kind of cushions, surrounds the joint. That goes in between the cartilage as well. And then on the outside, we got our ligaments, tendons, the bursa. The bursa is this like water-filled sac. And so now people have kind of an idea of how the joint functions, and now we want to look at well, there's another one here too that I want to pull up, which is also the bursa. And so that goes into it a little bit more in looking at the bursa. This is like a shoulder, and we can see, the clavicle, and then in between there, the bursa is a lot larger on the shoulder joint because, we need a lot more cushion there. And people run into bursitis. If you've ever heard of bursitis, bursitis is basically an inflammation or an irritation of the bursa, which is this like fluid-filled sac. And that causes all sorts of problems, with muscle, tendons, tennis elbow, repetitive sports issues, things like that come up with bursitis. And then lastly is like rheumatoid arthritis. So rheumatoid arthritis is caused when our immune system starts attacking the joints and the tissue. And it also can cause other problems, where the rheumatoid arthritis can lead to skin damage. It causes inflammation in other areas of the body and not necessarily just particular to the joint. But I think that's where most people are aware of it, and they're like, okay, I've heard of rheumatoid arthritis, osteoarthritis, and most people don't really know the difference. So I just wanted to, talk about that as well. So as far as, what I want to ask you, Antwoine, is a little bit about form. because, we've talked about exercise. We can agree that exercise is very important.
Very, very
Not only to cardiovascular health, to our overall fitness, and it comes down to like a body in motion stays in motion, right? We've heard that, but also, touch a little bit on form. Tell us, what your feelings on that as well. Because I'll see, like, it's the funniest thing. I have this old guy at the gym that I see all the time, and I would probably say he's like 70 years old. And this guy does like half reps, and he's like swinging his whole body into it, and he's like out of control. And I look at him like, dude, I'm surprised your back is not totally jacked up, because this guy has the worst form ever, and I don't have the heart even to tell him and say, dude, what are you doing? I know I probably should tell him and say something to him, but he comes across, he has such this attitude, like, I know what I'm doing, I've been around the block, I'm old, but he's just like out of control. So
I absolutely think form over function is the most important thing. So with me working with regular adults or student athletes, and then just myself.
So you've done some training as well for people?
Yes, I have. Yes.
Awesome.
Yes. So I believe form over function, it always has to be repetitive in the individual's mind. I look at it just like sports. When fatigue sets in, there's a few things that happen. One of those things would be mentally, you lose focus.
Right.
Outside of the mental capacity of things, the next thing that goes is your form. Because a lot of people,
you're kind of giving up mentally a little bit?
Yeah, because mentally, as fatigue sets in, you want to just get through the reps. If you're on the football field, you want to just make it through the play, right? And then, the lactic acid build up,
right?
And your body just starts to take a turn of feeling great to all of a sudden like struggling to get through a rep. So a lot of times, if a person doesn't have someone standing right over them to reiterate or correct their form, a lot of times mentally they'll just try to get
take
through
the easiest route.
way out, then without them being aware. So like you said, his body starts to swing back and forth and those different things. Form over function is important. So. And it's also important in what we're talking about today, which is joint health. So, if you're doing a squat, you don't want to have your knees over your toes. You want to be sitting back on your heels. So there's a lot of cues and things that you have to relate to yourself as you're training and working out so that you keep proper form. And so form over function, once again.
There's probably some things you should not do. For example, like I injured my back about 8 months ago. And actually, it's probably been about 9 months. But I used to take this 45-pound dumbbell to my side, and where you drop it down that. And this chiropractor guy is like, do not do that. That's like the worst thing you can do. Yeah, maybe it's getting your abs a little bit, but it's totally just like putting all that pressure on your, L4, L5 disc, and is wearing out that disc. He's like, that's all you're doing is wearing out the disc. He's like, find something else to do. Yeah. So I think that's true, when it comes down to like, form over function as well.
Correct.
So I appreciate that. And then, tell us, as far as like injuries, I'm curious, like what you've seen, like what's the worst hit or worst injury or anything that you've seen within the NFL? I've watched a lot of football. I've seen some hard hits. I've seen guys carried off of the field. What is your experience with that, and what have you run into as far as injuries? Anything personal?
I was trying to think anything personally I've witnessed. Not anything I can say personally that I witnessed.
Sure.
I can say watching games, there are things that I've witnessed. I'm a Washington Redskins fan, diehard. So I remember seeing the hit of Lawrence Taylor on Joe Theismann.
Oh, yeah.
And watching his leg snap, and LT immediately jumping up and waving to get the medical staff out on the field.
Yeah.
Something like that. That's nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if Stiles going to return back to play after the fact, but that would be one of the worst injuries I've seen on the field.
Okay. Yeah, that's not fun.
and with medicine being the way it was back then, as opposed to the way it is now, there's guys that have had similar injuries and they've been able to recover.
Sure.
More so quickly nowadays than back in the day.
Yeah, I think not only modern medicine, but also as far as like, I believe that the key, not only is it mentally, having the right form, but also the right nutrition is going to help with your recovery, with your downtime if you do have an injury. And also, I like to look at it, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Oh. So if we're taking the right steps, we're eating healthy, we're exercising properly, and we have the right form and everything, we're going to not run into all these problems with like rheumatoid arthritis or osteoarthritis or bursitis or whatever it is, that as far as joint problems and issues come down to, we're going to be able to avoid those. And so one thing I want to look at is solutions, because there's some regular over-the-counter solutions, that people do. So, the first one would be like capsaicin, which is from hot pepper. We've seen like Bengay, all these different like capsaicin-based formulations, and that's like providing a topical relief to the issue. It's helping the muscles relax, but it's not necessarily treating the actual injury and the problem. And so the next one is like, people take acetaminophen, they'll do aspirin. Acetaminophen is fine for the pain, but once again, we're just kind of masking the problem as well. We're not really treating it. And so it really comes back down to form and nutrition and putting the right things into your body. And then another thing that I've had, I've dealt with, pain pills with my back, and that's not necessarily the right way to go. Another thing, people do cortisol injections. I did that, because I had basically 2 really bad bulging discs, and I did like a series of cortisol injections, and those weaken the bone over time. It caused the bone to deteriorate and to break down, and so that's not necessarily a healthy route. That's a short-term solution to it, and to get people kind of past that. I don't know if you've ever dealt with that, Antwoine.
Well, I sprained my AC joint when I was playing football over in Hamilton, in Canada.
Okay.
And in doing so, I probably missed the last preseason game. Actually, the first preseason game, and I played in the second preseason game. And in doing so, I had them shoot up the shoulder.
Okay. With the cortisone?
With the cortisone, and he missed it like 4 times.
Oh, that's not good.
And I was like, no, dude, I'm still in pain. And so he wanted to do it again. I was like, actually, don't worry about it. Put the little cup over the top of it, and I'm just going to play through it. And so I went out there, played through it, tears in my eyes the whole time with contact. But it's one of those things as a football player, we kind of push ourselves to limits that maybe we shouldn't. But in the process, I did it. That was the only time I tried it. But I know other guys who've done it, over the course of their careers, just to, like you said, to try to eliminate the pain. Once again, just
with the injections.
The pain. It's not absolutely getting rid of the problem.
Yeah, I think the best thing, in dealing with it, once you can make it past, obviously the pain and inflammation are a problem, because that doesn't get your body to the healing process. And so, the next best thing would be like therapy, whether that's like physical therapy, finding the right chiropractor, because a lot of times our bodies and joints get out of alignment, and we want to address those and get everything back functioning, properly. It comes back to the right form. Yeah, we can have the right form when we exercise, but sometimes we do things to our body that throw it out of alignment, and we need to get it back into alignment so those bones are rubbing in the right places. The cartilage is on the cartilage, and the ligaments and everything are all in alignment, because that can cause problems. It can lead to other health issues as well. And so lastly, the thing I want to go over to is like diet and nutrition. So, one thing in, dieting, people look at that as like, oh, look, I'm just going to starve myself. No, if you are overweight, if you are obese, you are carrying extra pounds, and it is putting a lot of extra strain on your joints, on your hips, all those problems. And that ultimately is going to lead to, you possibly having to even have those knee replaced with artificial joints.
Correct.
As well. And that's never a fun way to go. But, sometimes that's necessary because we put so much strain and problems on the joint that we, that's the last resort. So what we want to go over today and give you is some things and address from a nutrition standpoint, things that you should be doing and taking. One thing we talked about was exercise. Let's go into the exercise a little bit more, because one thing I love that you have is the CTX system. So I want you to, and you got the CTX hat on. I'm loving that hat, man. I got to get me one of those.
Exactly.
So tell us a little bit about what this system is, because my understanding of it is it's this belt that you wear, and you have these bands, and I'll just let you talk about how it works and what it is. So kind of take us through that process. I know we got some images there. We got a little video that tells about it, and I love the system. I think it's kind of an amazing thing as far as resistance and training your body.
All right, well, excuse me. The CTX basically stands for cross-training experience. The thought process going into the CTX was, how could, because I love functional training, body weight training. And so how could I enhance what an individual receives basically out of their workout? And how can I cut the time?
One thing I wanted to bring up, Antwoine, it reminded me of, going back to that guy in the gym that's like totally using the wrong form.
Correct.
And this helps get you in that right form as well. But one thing I like about this is when I started out weight training, I'm like, dude, I just got to go like super heavy. And the heavier I go, the more muscle I'm going to put on. And that's not necessarily the case.
True.
The true solution, and I think what a lot of people are realizing, yeah, you can go heavy, but the main thing is that you're getting the pump into the muscle, you're increasing the blood flow, and you're taking that muscle to fatigue so it can repair and build. So if you're trying to bodybuild, you don't necessarily have to just like kill and destroy your joints and go super heavy. So form is key, as well as, you know, I would say form is probably the main thing, you know, getting that full range of motion and getting your body aligned and getting your core strengthened. And this system helps with that as well.
Exactly. Every exercise movement that you will encounter while utilizing the CTX, your core is going to be completely engaged. So if we can go back to number 28, I believe it is. I just want to kind of give 29. So
29?
Yeah. So I kind of want to walk individuals through the CTX. As you can see on the top left, basically the CTX, those are all the components. There's your belt, your two ankle straps, and your wrist straps. And then you have your 4 bands. They all connect individually. And so the belt is wicking. So it's one of those things where I kind of laugh because I'm like, well, when people take it off, the shirt right there in the midsection is nice and wet. So I always say, well, hey, you want to lean out around your waist.
I was helping with that, helping with the waist as well.
But the bands are 30 pounds of resistance each. Okay. And as you can see, there's release levers on each attachment for your belt.
That tightens it up.
Yes,
so you can tighten
it
each
up.
thing.
Correct. And so with that being the process, it allows an individual, if you're a beginner, to be able to start and work out and train and not have to worry about, wait a minute, this is too intense for me to be able to work out in. And as you become more advanced and as you're using, as you feel like you want to get more tension on your bands, you can center it a little tighter.
Okay, so you can adjust and control the resistance.
You can adjust and control the resistance.
I think that's what we were just seeing in that last image as well.
Correct. And then also, Stu, if you go to image number 35 there for me. This one I love because, you know, some people, you're losing your mind at home, men and women. Don't worry about it, because with the CTX, it's going to cut your workout in half.
I got it.
So all the workouts that we conduct with the CTX at Studio HB.
So no matter what you're doing, no matter what type of sport or training you're involved with, you're adding that additional resistance.
Yes.
And that's helping you cut your workout time because you're training harder.
You're training harder and smarter at the same time. And the beauty with the CTX is going to allow you to lengthen and strengthen your muscles all at the same time. So you do a lot of heavyweight training. It starts your muscles start to be a little restricted. They get a little tighter. Yeah. So you definitely want to have that. You want to have that lengthening of the muscle, so that therefore you can prevent injury.
Oh, nice. So I'm excited to try this. I mean, it looks like fun. I've seen it. I put it on and everything, but I want to actually get involved and try it on the workouts. It sounds like a cool thing.
It's really cool. The other thing I didn't explain was the fact that you can actually utilize it for whatever sport. So whether it be football, basketball,
obviously, you wouldn't want to hook it on your arms.
Well, obviously, in basketball, the only time you wouldn't want to wear the CTX on your arms is if you're shooting.
Right.
Outside of shooting, you can have it on your arms when you're doing your defensive slides, your passes, your drills. And then when it comes to yoga, ballet bar, dance, any type of aerobics, Pilates, you can wear the CTX.
Yes. Awesome. Well, there's a video, too. Let's show the video here because I think that kind of explains it.
Now that's what you call a CTX inspired CR2.
I love that. That's awesome. I like that video too. I'm inspired. I want to try it.
Let's hope so. That's like the plan.
It's like a big movie trailer. You know, that's what I liked about that. So next thing we want to go over, we covered kind of form, function, you know, implementing the CTX system into your workouts. For more information on that, where can people go to find that? What's the website?
The website is ctxexperience.com.
Awesome. ctxexperience.com. So next thing we want to cover is like nutrition, because not only is it important to keep your body moving, to keep those joints active, but I think it's also important as far as what we put into our bodies. And so, you know, I'm a big believer in, you know, healing our body through nutrition. And the first thing, one of my favorite things is like essential fatty acids, whether that's like fish oil. If you don't want to take fish oil, there's borage oil. There's also olive, avocado. Avocados are an excellent source of omega fatty acids. And then we have coconut oil. I don't know. There's a lot of people that like to do pulling. If you've ever heard of pulling, they'll take the coconut oil and just leave it in your mouth. Coconut oil is an antiseptic, so it kills bacteria. It pulls toxins out of your body. That's kind of the purpose of holding it in your mouth, and then people spit it out. I like to just take the coconut oil and I'll eat it. I'll consume that, like a tablespoon of that a day. I don't know if you've ever done that. But that's very healthy for our joint functioning, overall health, keeps it lubricated. And then, one of my favorite things is like bromelain and papaya. And papain is, from papayas, and then bromelain is from pineapple. And those are natural anti-inflammatories. Pineapple also helps and aids with digestion, not only with inflammation. And then, shellfish is another thing that, if you've ever heard of glucosamine and chondroitin, and that basically comes from the outside exoskeleton of shellfish. And it's been shown to aid with people with joint problems, osteoarthritis, arthritis. It basically kind of helps lubricate, repair the joints. One thing is there's so many forms of glucosamine and chondroitin out there. Make sure you're getting one that's micronized, for absorbability, because there's, don't go buy the cheap stuff at these big box retailers, because you really get what you pay for, in my opinion. And then secondly is turmeric. I love turmeric. Turmeric is a great anti-inflammatory. It's an anti-carcinogenic. It's good for people to take that for cancer. But overall, people are starting to realize the importance of turmeric, and a lot of these natural anti-inflammatories like aloe vera, is another one. Capsaicin. We talked about that for rutin, quercetin is what I meant. And one of my favorite things is like greenlit mussel. And it's very hard to find. It's not in very many formulations out there if you're looking from a health food store or anything that. But greenlit mussel actually contains the same mineral balance and the pH balance that our bodies have within them. And so this greenlit mussel basically helps not only repair and restore the joints, but it also helps replace the synovial fluid. We talked about in a healthy joint, we have those little fluid sacs on each sides of the joint, and the fluid flows in between the joint, in between the cartilage, and that helps lubricate that. Vitamin C is another thing, that people can take as well. And, not only is it going to you won't get scurvy, like back in the pirate day, yar! So, but vitamin C is very healthy as well. Flaxseed oil is also important as well, because if people don't want to take that fish oil, look for a good flaxseed oil with your omega-6s, and I think omega-3s and 6s are equally important as well. So, those are some things that people can take. But going back to this greenlit mussel, one thing I love on the greenlit mussel is the greenlit mussel not only helps replace that synovial fluid, but it's very good with inflammation. It brings down that inflammation. And when our bodies are inflamed, they send signals, and our bodies, not only does it lead to other diseases and other problems, but if our bodies are dealing with that inflammation and pain, it's very hard to repair it and get to a state. So the first and most important thing is to get that inflammation under control. And so, one thing that we've developed at High Energy Labs is we have this joint product called multiflex that basically has everything in it that we've been talking about. It has the omega-3s, it has the greenlit mussel, it has the omega-6s as well. So it's kind of a complete joint formula. It's got aloe vera, so glucosamine, chondroitin. We're using a micronized glucosamine, so it's 25% more absorbable than regular glucosamine. And so what we did in developing this formula, because we talk about it from nutrition, and here's kind of my take on nutrition, Antwoine, is I think, we have these giant farm fields, and everyone has had a garden tomato out of their garden. And we know there's a big difference in taste, especially from a garden tomato versus a hydroponic tomato, that's grown just with no dirt, and they feed it nutrients. And that's mainly, unless you're buying organic tomatoes, that's the tomato that you're getting at the grocery store. And that's my same feeling is we put all these pesticides, we overwork these farms, overwork the soil, and all the nutrients kind of get depleted out of the soil. And so, people are like, yes, people are living longer, we have better medicine, but I think it's also important to go back to these roots and go make sure we're getting all these key nutrients in our body, and we're missing those because of we're not growing food out of our own gardens, and all these giant industrial farms, the fields have been so overworked and so overproduced, and with these pesticides and everything else, we're not getting the proper nutrition into our bodies. So that's where I feel supplementation comes into play. And this multiflex product, is ideal for joint health and problems. And we looked at everything out there in the marketplace, and we did a lot of research on joint health, and there's a lot of stuff in here. And so one thing I wanted to offer for viewers, if you're going to our website, we had that come up. It's highenergylabs.com, and we have a special code for you guys. If you all in lowercase, if you enter in joints, you can get 25% off of your order. So for 25% off of multiflex, try it. It works amazing. I take this product every day, and it's really helped with pain. It's help with inflammation, get things under control, and provide those key nutrients to our body. And people are really noticing results within 1 to 3 days of taking the product.
Awesome.
I gave Antwoine a bottle for him to try, when he has joint problems or issues. You're welcome. And then also, I think a lot of times people are like, dude, I don't need to take this stuff. I have no joint problems. I have no joint issues. But yet, if you are training, you're pushing your body, and you're involved in exercise or any of activities, you are wearing down and putting strain on the joints. And that's just a part of life. Our joints wear out. They're not designed to function and work for 200 years. And so if you want to have a better, happier life, start taking care of your joints, implement proper form like Antwoine was talking about, and look at these food sources, get active, stay active, keep exercising, but do it properly, and take the right nutrition, and try this multiflex, because it's going to stop. I look at it as a preventative. It comes back down what I said before: an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So, taking this and implementing a joint product into your regimen is going to stop you from running into joint problems and issues later on. Anything you want to add or say, Antwoine?
No, I think for all your viewers that are watching today, I think you gave a great overview of information, things that people can take and use moving forward in their day-to-day.
Perfect. And then before we're done, I just want to see if anyone has any comments, anyone wants to reply. If you don't want to do so live, you can leave a comment. I'll try to get back to you. Antwoine will try to get back to you if you have any individual questions for him, whether
Maybe.
it's
No.
whether it's dealing with NFL, whether it's dealing with the CTX system, or anything else that he's working on. If you have any questions for him, feel free to reply there in the comments, and we'll get back with you. I want to thank everyone for watching and for tuning in on the show today. Stay healthy, take care of your bodies, live well, and be healthy and happy.